again with a pre-submitted question regarding holiday light installation. I'll tell you how to set up a proper estimate for holiday lights with the ability to go in and schedule the holiday light jobs if you win the bid appropriately. So what I'm going to do is open up the screen as usual here on Callahan's Corner, where you ask the questions. We answer them live right here on Facebook. And we're going to dive into actually how to build that holiday light install and removal estimate, and then be able to put that into a software and schedule that appropriately with desired start and end dates. So without any further delay, I'm going to pop the screen open here and actually show you how to do this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to dial this out into the SimpleGrowth blueprint. So you probably, if you watched any of these in the previous past, we don't really want to build a house without a blueprint. We're not putting random doors and windows everywhere. Same exact thing when we're building out these services for our service business. We want to be able to go in and actually see if we're making the projected profit and actually build some sound foundational things into the estimate here and the services before we get them into the software. So what we've done here, just to save some time, is I've built out some services here in the blueprint. If we were doing this together remotely, knee to knee, first question I would have is, what is your hourly revenue charge per man hour? What's the goal that you actually want to get per man hour? So we're going to say in this example here, we're at $200 an hour, which 170 to 225 is we're seeing on holiday lights per man hour, believe it or not. So if this is a service you're not offering, it can be extremely lucrative, especially if you're in a lease model after you pay for the materials in year one with the new LEDs that are out there. So next thing we're going to be asking is, what is the expense per man hour, your break even? So what's it cost you before you get that bottom line net profit? So we're going to say here in this example that maybe this person is breaking even a little bit on the higher side with the additional insurance and ladders. Maybe they got some lifts that they're using here at 48 bucks per hour. So what we're going to do is take that and drive that through all our services. So we know what our charge per man hour is, and in addition, our expense. This is going to make a little more sense in a minute, but those are the first two things that we need to take a look at: is what's the charge per hour and what is it costing you per hour break even. And as we do that, then we're going to go back up. And the first service we're looking at here is our Christmas light install C9 in here. Create a custom field here of linear feet of C9. And that is going to be the variable that we're going to be measuring online or in person if we're actually wheeling that out in front of the home. So we've created our service name in the custom field, the variable that is actually going to produce the price. The next thing we've looked at is what is the linear cost per foot? So obviously this is going to vary around the US and Canada, but I put some ballpark prices in here just so you can get an idea of how this all lays out. So we're assuming that all the way in between the wires, clips, the lights, and everything else, it's running about $1.60 per linear foot, and that's going to include the timer as well on average. We've figured out that we're charging $200 per man hour. It's costing us $48 break even per man hour, and it's costing us $1.60 per linear foot for the lights themselves here in year one. What you want to do is create the first year install, and then underneath that, for scheduling in that, we want to be able to show the same exact service without the cost of materials, because it's going to be significantly higher profit. So what we've got here is from 1 to 1 linear feet is $5. Is there a minimum to show up just for the C9s? Traditionally, there isn't a minimum just for the C9, especially if we're doing wreaths, garland, shrub wrap, tree wraps, things like that. But we can definitely recommend here is doing this with probably well over 100 companies just in holiday lights, hundreds of companies for lawn care and landscape. Simple is better for holiday lights. That's going to create a better ability to schedule and an easy way to sell it, and almost over the phone sometimes. But definitely if we're on site, we're doing the estimate, we want to be able to have a simple offering that we can close quickly without too many options. So simple is better in my opinion on this. So what we're saying is per linear foot, we're charging $5 installed. 3 times 60 is approximately at 1.8 minutes per linear foot installed. And we have a break-even cost of our 0.3 man hours times the break-even. So that's our labor cost plus the $1.60 for the materials. So if I pull the materials out, it is costing us the $1.44 in overhead before we break even. And then when we add in the product cost, we're down to $3.04. So each additional linear foot over the first foot is another $5 per linear foot, 0.03 man hours. And it costs at $3.04 break even. So that's the foundational things you want to set up in the main service. 99% of the softwares that we've worked in, they don't really tell you your projected profit percentage. So that's why we want to use this blueprint. We're looking at projected profit of $1.96 and a 39% margin. So that 39% margin is actually pretty low in here. Price needs to go up or based on that break even, if this is an actual break even. So traditionally, we're seeing this significantly higher, but we do need to remember this is year one. So in year two, when we get rid of that cost, it's about 71%. So actually, I take that back. That's about normal. Not going to build out the secondary C9 install, but you would want to build one out without the materials to schedule for year 2, 3, and 4. Traditionally, the companies work with, they plan on replacing them after 3 years. But obviously, that's up to you and the conditions and how you store them. So the next thing we're going in is we're going to go in and build out, once again, we've got our price per hour and our break even. Our linear feet of C9, we need our Christmas light removal and storage for our C9s. So every linear foot, there is no additional charge. It's baked into the $5 per linear foot up here. We bake that in as a minute per linear foot to set it up and get it in the storage bin. And it's costing us 96 cents. So that 96 cents technically is going to be added up here. So really it's costing you $4 per linear foot in the first year, and you're charging $5. And then after that, the only cost would be the 96 to take it down. So that's where those profit margins can grow significantly. So we've got our Christmas light C9 on the ridge lines, set up and take down with storage. Next thing we did is I built out another one here for wreath installation, 3-foot pre-lit. The variable we're looking for is the number of wreath installations, 3-foot pre-lit. So each wreath we're charging $125. We're giving about 20 minutes, and it's costing us $105.99. So we're buying the wreath at $89.99, and with the break-even overhead, it's at $105.99. So it's about a 15% margin in the first year. After we take the cost out, second year, once again, you're about 87% net profit, which is huge. So we do want to build those out for the Facebook Live on these services. I'm not building out the secondary service for year 2, 3, and 4. But those are you going to want to build those. But I'm going to show you how to actually put this in the software and build this out for simplicity. So we've also built down the takedown here. And the takedown here, I probably would not put 20 minutes, but maybe let's put 5 minutes per wreath. And that obviously raises that up. And the would be no cost here. So we got about 96% on that. So costing us $4 to take them down, costing us $105 in year 1 to put them up with the materials, and in year 2 only $16. So large margin there. And then the last thing we're looking at is mini strand installation per strand on a tree trunk. And then the custom field is a number of light strands, installation tree trunks. So each strand we're charging 32. It's taking us 0.08 man hours, and it's costing us labor and materials $19. And then once we get rid of that 15, that margin goes right up to almost 90% again. So that's the way we want to break it down. And then we have the takedown as well. So those are our main services that we're building out as an example here. So the next thing we want to do is go into a software and actually build this out. So what I'm going to be using is Service Autopilot. And the first step that we always do is we want to build out a custom field. We're going to need those to build the service out and the matrices. So that's important that we build these out first before we build the services. So what we're going to do is go back to the SimpleGrowth blueprint here and copy and paste them. So if you remember, the first thing we dealt with was C9s, and the linear feet of C9 is our custom field. So we're going to plug that in here and associate it to the customer, and the value type is a number. And then we're going to hit save and new. Next thing we're going to get our next custom field, which is number of wreaths, 3-foot pre-lit. So once again, we go back into SA, we paste that in and hit number and save and new. We do not want to associate the custom field to the property in most instances. Reason being is if you're looking to run reports in Service Autopilot, their report center will not pull anything up associated to a property. The data table is not available. So we need to put it as a customer. Now, this being said, if you're using V3 maps, which I actually highly recommend if you're doing the measurements online, the linear feet, you can make multiple linear feet measurements. And when you're doing report, just switch your custom field back and it can pull that back in. But rule of thumb is we want to build the custom fields on the association to the customer. So the next thing we're going to do is go in, and we've got all of our custom fields built out. We're going to scroll right top of the blueprint again here, and we're going to build these services out. So what we're going to do is take our Christmas lights installation of C9 and go to the gear icon and add a service. So once we've blueprinted it, we've checked our product cost, we've checked our production, we've checked our break even, and a projected profit and profit margin year 1 and year 2 if we did it correctly here. So what we're going to do is drive in and actually build the services now that we have the custom field. And you're going to see that the custom field is going to be needed here. So I'm going to put in a couple asterisks in here so I have these. easily ready for what we're doing and build out our service. First thing we're going to do is go into our calculation. That's going to be quantity rate times visits. And once again, our custom field is linear feet of C9. So we're going to go in and connect that linear feet of C9. And that is the one. You can tell in the test account we've done a few of these. Then we're going to take our top line in the matrices, the 1-to-1 and 5, 0.03 hours and $3.04. We're going to build that right into the matrices itself. So what we're going to do is just literally copy those over. And what was that, Bob? Top one, $3.04. So that's going to be the way we tackle that in. And the bottom line was identical because we're charging the same per linear foot as we're doing it. So what we're going to do is hit save and new. And it is yelling at me because our naming convention here is a little bit too long. Let's see if it'll let us do that. So the next thing we're doing is setting up our Christmas light storage and removal. And that's our next service. Now, remember, there was no price on that because we've already incorporated it up front on there. Now, you can see account and class. This is a great way to categorize your income, especially if you're syncing with QuickBooks, or to be able to pull out your journal entries a little bit quicker and set that up for better tracking. Now, every 1-to-1 is 0.02 and 0.96. We're not charging anything on the estimate here. We're charging up top so we can get our money all up front with the installation of the lights. So once again, we're just going to copy that matrices here right in there. So this is once again going to be our linear feet of C9 and 1-to-1, no price on it, and 0.02 and 0.96. Bottom variable is going to be the same. And we're going to save and new. And once again, it's getting a little picky about my lights here, or my naming convention. You are allowed only 31 characters with a QuickBooks sync. Depending on the sync or not, it will be updated. All right, so we're going to go back in and update the name of this. So when we go to pull it out, it will be easily accessible. And the next thing we're going to do is our wreath installation. When you're building out these services, there's certain things you need. You need a code. You need a tax service mode. Invoice description, you need to associate it to an account, and you need an estimate description. Those are the main things in Service Autopilot that you need for success to be able to set this up. And apparently you need to be a little less than 31 characters. So once again, we're grabbing that custom field, number of wreath installations, 3-foot pre-lit, and we're going to drop that in. That's our custom field that we've already built. And once again, that's associated to the customer. We're copying. It's 125.33, 105.99. And the same exact thing on the bottom because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. And we're going to save and new. Now we've got the setup. So we need to go back down the blueprint here and grab the takedown and storage. So same exact process here. What I'm going to do is take this here in a minute and drive this actually into an estimate document and show you how you can actually set this up so the customer can check and accept the different areas and how we can actually set it appropriately to schedule these services as well. So we're about halfway there, maybe a little bit more, but I want to run you stem to stern and kind of lift the hood on this, how you can set this up in your service business for holiday lights. So we're going to grab our custom field here, paste that in here. That's the other cool thing about the blueprint here. It's going to allow you to make sure everything is smoothly and you're just taking it line by line here. So this is our takedown, and we did not have any charge for that. So we've got 1-to-1 is 0.08 and 4. Teach you a little bit longer to do this. Don't worry. We've been doing this for about 5-6 years now as a certified advisor, working with hundreds of clients in my 7-figure landscape business. The goal of this is actually show you how to do it. If you need some help, obviously we're here. Reach out. I'm going to hold off on the mini strand lights just for time, but same exact process. So we build all these out in the blueprint. So what we've got now is we've got all our services in here with the custom fields and the pricing matrices. So this is the part where most people get hung up. We want to go to the gear icon and go to master packages. And this is where the secret sauce is. We've got is a master package here. And I'm going to name this Holiday Light Demo. Renewal date, I'm going to put it in for 2020, probably going to be in August. So if you have not started your renewals and your upsells for your holiday lights, right now, middle of September is the time to get them going. Gentleman that did my holiday lights just sent his renewal through an automated process last week. So it definitely is time to get these things going here. So what we're going to do, take our name here and copy and paste it. So once again, this blueprint just makes everything so much more simple. What we're going to do is add in Christmas light removal. And we're going to do our start date. So when's the earliest we would probably do this? I would say that's probably going to be maybe October 17th. And the latest that we would be doing this holiday light install is maybe the Friday before Christmas. So we're going to put those in here. What we've done is actually created a desired start and end date. This is going to allow us to schedule this and not miss the start and end dates. So we've got start and end dates that are desired, and we're going to hit save. So we've got our holiday light install. We're going to go in and do our wreath installation. We're going to renew that next year in 2020. And we're going to grab our service names and installation of our 3-foot pre-lit. Drop that in once again and say our earliest we can do it is October 17th. The latest we can do it is now November 18th. And we've got the installation. Now we need to scroll to the takedown. This way here, it's going to allow us to schedule a little bit easier, make it very, very simplistic. But the other cool thing is now we're showing the higher perceived value to the client of all the things that are going into this actual holiday light install and removal. So we've got them. We're going to do our mini light strand on the tree trunk and get that in. And then we'll actually put this into an estimate and show you how it actually works. If you're wondering why I'm putting the little asterisks in front of it, that's just so I can find it a little bit easier in this test account, because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of services in here. So we're going to go in August again and renew that again on August 1st. And our final service is our mini strand installation on the tree trunk. Now, obviously, you'd have the different wraps around the top and all the other services. We'll cancel that, and we'll actually go into the next step. So next thing is we're going to go into the gear icon. We need to create our estimate document here for the holiday light install. Settings, documents, and we have a bunch of estimate documents that are already created. So I'm going to use one of the ones in here, but that would be your next step, is creating the document and the email, estimate email and acceptance email. So the last part is to really just build out our job estimate templates. And this is where the pricing is going to preload, or the services are going to preload, make it very easy for you or the estimator. So the demo, we're going to do it for both jobs and estimates. And what we're going to do is go right back to the blueprint. So we're really taking the thought of this. If you end up working with SimpleGrowth at some point, or you make one of these yourself, the benefit of this is you can change your pricing, your product costs, and thing automatically updates here. And then you can have an admin go in and actually update the pricing for you. So this is kind of your rinse and repeat thing. So as we build these out with people remotely, knee to knee, we let them keep these sheets. So we don't just teach you how to, or give you the fish, we teach you how to fish. And that's kind of the secret sauce here. So we're going to go into the package and we're going to pull in our holiday light demo. As we went down the sheet, the next service we had was our wreath. You'd add those two in there. We didn't do the other services, but we've got them in there. So what we're doing is creating two services, putting them into a package, and then showing both of those. But now the customer can click in there, see it, and it allows us to schedule right off the estimate. So you're going to have a price, budget time, cost before, or cost after. I'm sorry. So you have a price, a budget time, and profit after labor burden, overhead, break even, and your material costs on year one. And then, if, like I said, you should build out year two with no product costs in here. So we're going to save and close that. The last thing we do before that is we want to connect that to that estimate document. I'll show you some best practice once we get in there. So if we go into marketing forms, imagine we're walking around and we've got our tablet or phone, and we want to expedite the estimating process here. This is going to be our holiday light demo. This is something that we did in my company here because I wanted to become an absentee owner. We needed to be able to delegate this. So this is the idea. There's a couple things here we need to do. We need to make it show on the mobile, auto-proof, create on submit. We're going to update that lead here, and we are going to add a couple fields. So traditionally, you want to do name and address. Name, we need to map that back over here to client first name, last name. Address needs to go to service address. Big mistake. A lot of people do that to billing address. And then we're adding a field. This is going to be our linear feet of C9. And we're going to map it back to a custom field. And we're going to add another one. And we'll do the wreath as well, just so we have it for this demo here. Now, once again, you can measure this online on the linear feet if you're comfortable. A lot of contractors do want to see these in person, which is definitely understandable. But we do have some clients that actually do these, believe it or not, online for the most part. Very, very simple installs as well. All right, so we've got this information here, linear feet of C9, number of wreath installation, save and close. Final step is we want to go in and see if we can find one here. I'm going to go into a test account. So this is the last step. If you're using that auto assist, you probably want this in here. Any client or lead will do. You go in and under, let's call it our sales systems here. I'm going to add a form and we are going to pull up our holiday light demo. Once again, we want to use this a V2 form, not V3, because we're using the legacy app. So imagine you are literally walking around and you can use this on the fly. All right, so we have this. It's going to run from stem to stern. Someone calls your office and we are hanging out on the My Day screen. We need to get a holiday light ready to go estimate. So we're going to go in green plus icon, add a lead, not a client. We want to show that conversion from lead to client for client acquisition costs and a whole bunch more. So we're going to add our friend test tester in here, and test tester is going to get an estimate here. So we want to put a first name, last name. If it's a commercial property, that would go in there, the name of the company. We're going to enter the postal code. That's going to ask us to confirm the city, most likely. Notice your service address is going in your billing address. Want to put in the client email address so we can actually send this to them. That's going to be very important for your renewals as well and your upselling of your different services. So we want to make sure we get that email, and phone number should go in the cell phone field for two-way texting. Next thing is under details. We want to go in and check the account type for database segmentation. This is going to be going in, and we want to select commercial or residential. Finally, the sales source. How did they hear about us? I'm going to say they heard from us from a door hanger, and we're going to hit save. So that's all the basic information we need. This is not a duplicate technically, because we are using this as a test client. If you did see that duplicate, it's there. You click on it, it passes the information over. So imagine we are out on site. We go into our mobile or our laptop and we grab our on-site estimate form for holiday lights. We go in and say, okay, we measure it. Let's say we've got 120 linear feet of C9 and I want 2 pre-lit wreaths. Hit submit. And as you can see here, the under details, the C9 and the door hangers have come in under details. So this is our cheat sheet to see exactly what we got going on. Next step is we want to go in and add an estimate. So we go in. So we've gone, it's on site with our tablet or mobile or computer. We put that in the form. Then going right in, we're grabbing our holiday light demo, and it has now connected the document. So through the magic of Facebook here live, we have got a installation at $600. 3.6 hours to install it, and it's costing us $364.80 with a net profit margin, including product cost of 39% in year 1. Like I said, we'd want a secondary package for year 2, 3, and 4 with no product cost because we're reusing that product. And then we've got our takedown with our 2.4 hours, $115 in cost. And we've got our wreath as well. So we've got our 2 services. We're going to quote both of these here, and by default, we've done this setup so it will show appropriately. Just double checking the test account. So this is the way we want it. We're going to go in now, hit save, and we're going to email this out to myself as the lead for this holiday light estimate. So this is the foundational workflow going into the blueprint, checking out your revenue per man hour, your break even per man hour, your cost for materials, and setting a minimum price potentially, and building out all the pieces and bringing it in the Service Autopilot, and now putting this estimate together. So I'm going to override this email subject line, hit send. And I'm going to pull up the other screen here and pull up my email. And then I'm going to actually go in and show you on a customer facing level what this actually looks like when you send out a holiday light estimate in this fashion. Now, if you're using best practice, you'd want to use something that we call 20 days to close to automatically follow up on each and every one of these estimates automatically over 20 days between automated email, text message, and phone calls. I've got our email up here that we're sending to the client. As you can see here, we've got a call now button and a text now button. What we've included is a lead letter. These are the 5 or 6 main reasons why our business is different, why people would want to work with us as a holiday light provider than anyone else. So main idea here is though your client is going to click this email, and this is going to open up the estimate for the holiday light estimate. So we've got holiday lights and we've got the wreath demo. What I'm going to suggest here is for a little clean clarity under the grids. When you build out your grid, you actually turn the grid lines on, make them a little bit darker. You can change the colors of them just so there's clarity between the 2 services. But obviously we just did this on the fly. we've got our service name and estimate description. So best practice is when you're in with the grid, we would just have the estimate description, not the service name, and it would be 2 clean blocks on there instead of 3. But I wanted to show you how to get them in here and set the packages up. That's the goal of this video. So your client can go in and click the 2 services if they want them, or just one, but it shows you what's included, and there's a perceived value here. We're not charging them extra for the takedown. It's actually included up top. So that's going to allow you to charge and get those billed out immediately. We've got some invoice details, general contract terms, 3 other clickable buttons on the mobile. And what we included here is our top 9 services. Basically, it's videos I made in my company. So this is the actual estimate that we used, where I talk about what's included, what's not included in the service, and we overcome any sales or price objections to shorten that sales cycle. So the final thing is here, we scroll down, we click to accept the estimate. We sign electronically, or your client would, and they're going to print their name. Scroll down and accept the proposal. And what's going to happen now immediately is that once that's taken care of, they're automatically going to get an email back thanking them to accept the estimate. You're going to be calling to get them on schedule. And what we're going to do is go back in here and refresh the browser. And this should be now automatically defaulted to 1. And it is. So when we click into the estimate, this is probably one of the coolest things that I really like about this. The signature information up here, time and date stamped with IP address for collections and getting things set are there. In addition, under attachments, we click the PDF, and it's actually the PDF of the estimate that we just sent verbatim. And if they didn't, so I didn't click the wreaths there. So it's just the holiday lights. That's what I agreed to. As we scroll down at the bottom, the electronic signature is there. So for collections, any legalities, for any type of your estimate, you will basically have a version of almost DocuSign built into the estimate at no extra charge to you. So comments and questions, leave them below on this Facebook Live, but this is going to be your best practice, how to set up holiday lights in your lawn care or service business, and working from the blueprint to get sound foundational financial numbers and production numbers. And then we take the blueprint, we put it into the software such as Service Autopilot, and then we go in and set up the takedown as well as the installation and put those into packages so we can show the value to the client. And then we can actually go in as well. And I'll show that real quickly here. We can go in and go into the lead and click on the estimate itself and go in and schedule that. And we're going to convert that lead into a client and schedule, and we can schedule that holiday light package right there. And it's going to have the setup and takedown already ready to go inside the software. So once again, Callahan's Corners, you ask the questions, we answer them live right here on Facebook. We'll see you again on Facebook.